Hey guys, how's it going? So basically today I wanted to talk a little bit about so when I first joined the university here maybe like a month and a half ago, I got put into it's based on 6 books basically, and I've been studying for about 4 months at the time. I got put on start on book 2 chapter 11, and I think honestly in terms of my listening and reading and speaking that was probably fine, but yeah, I think that was no problems whatsoever. But in terms of my writing the characters, it wasn't very good. And I was having to think about why this probably was, because I've completed Heisig before and I've kind of learned to write by hand almost 3,000 characters going through the Heisig books. But I've never really written in context of full sentences before. So I think because all of the time I was writing in isolation, one character here and there, as opposed to actually doing what we were getting tested on, which is hearing a sentence and writing down the sentence that was being said in dictation. Then I've not really practiced that skill before, and I'm going to talk about a bit today about how I've kind of bridged the gap now. And in my so when I first started doing the dictation test, I was scoring maybe like 50% in the first one, but then quite quickly it's improved, and now most of the ones, I think my last one was 90%, the one before that was 86%, something like that. And most of the marks I lose are from the opinion, actually, not the characters. So I think my dictation's improved a lot. And partly that's because it's been facilitated by Heisig. I have all the characters already, and I know the grammar I can read. It's just a case of remembering which ones when I'm writing them down. And also I've changed my study style slightly, or the way I do Anki at least, to facilitate this more. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that today. So first thing I guess I want to show you is if I just go to Chinese characters like here and have a look. Press the wrong shortcut button. If I go to the Chinese characters here and have a look, I'll show you some of the characters as they're coming up. I'm basically changing the where the card's laid out slightly, and I'll show you this in a second. So here's just a quick one as an example. Here was given the definition of breast here, which is got the pronunciation R-U. And basically what I'm doing is when I'm seeing words either from reading or learning them at school, I'm basically changing it to a vocab note. So here this is rupinier, which is the dairy industry, and this is something I say a lot when I'm speaking to my friends or in relation to animal agriculture, which I speak about quite a lot. So I've just put that in there and replaced the replaced the character that I want to write with the opinion, and I'll have the original keyword there as well. So if I go on to preview the card, this is what it looks like on the front. We've got the word here and the original English keyword, and then on the back I've just got the same as before, the character, the Heisig number and the lesson number. So basically what I'd do is I'd write out the whole word on this, and I think this seems to be helping quite a lot, learning, or at least putting a lot of the old characters in the context of words. But I also think still, if I'm not practicing writing out full sentences, then it's not as helpful, because I was looking into hearing talks about memory before, and we're very bad at transfer from knowledge from abstract things to other domains. So basically if we're wanting to practice something, then the closer to the context of what we want to practice it, the better. So I wanted to practice dictation, and because of that I've been basically split all of my cards here. So this is my sentence stick here, it's over 9,000, and I'm going to show you my card setup now. So if I go on to manage note type, this is the one I use, basic sentence type. So if I go on my fields, these are all the fields I have. So expression is the sentence, meaning is definitions of words I don't know, reading is like a reading, color, and Ruby are basically relating to like the opinion, sounds the audio file. So if I click X on that and I go on my card, I've got 2 types here, one which is reading card and one which is listening card. So for those of you that don't know with Anki, every time you create a new I always get the note and card mixed up, so correct me if I get this wrong. But every time you make a new note type, so you type in all the different fields, and I'll show you quickly now. So if I go to create a new note here, then these are all the different fields here, and because I've basically separated out the different fields in the card, I type in the different things, and you can generate multiple cards from a single note based on putting these fields whichever way around you want it to. So if I go back to my note type here, you can see on the reading one I've got the expression on side 1, and then the ruby, which is the characters color coded for the tones with the opinion on top, the meaning, which is definitions of the words I don't know, and the audio file. But also I've got listening cards, which, as you'd expect, I've just written listening card on the front just to make it, because sometimes I was having bugs on my phone when it was not showing the play button, it looked like the card was showing up blank. So just so I know, I'd add the English word listening card here, and you can change this on the left here. I've got the sound on the front, and I've got the expression, the readings, the meaning, and the sound all on the back. So what I'd do is I'd listen to the sound, and I'd write out what I hear. And this way, all of my sentence cards I'm doing in sentence mining now, I'm practicing dictation like what I'm being tested on. And because it's the same skill, you know, we're very bad at transfer of knowledge, which is why I think before I had a lot of characters, but I couldn't write out full sentences very well because it's not a skill I specifically practiced. So this practicing dictation cards is helping me write a lot easier, and also coupled with the fact that in class all the notes we have to take are in Chinese. Even when you're doing grammar drills, you're writing out full Chinese sentences and stuff, so I think that's definitely a big help for writing. If you want to know how to change this, you can type it in here. You can see this is, I literally just typed in the word listening card, and you can see this is the codes on the front. You can, if you want to change the size, you can change the number of pixels here, for example. But if you want to add a new field, you simply click down here and you can choose, let's say for example I wanted to add the reading on the front, or the expression on the front. You check this, you choose the font, the size, and if you want it on the front or the back. So if I click OK, it appears here, so you don't actually have to type in the code yourself. And then I'm going to delete this because I don't actually want to change that. So that's basically what I've been doing to ramp up my writing, and I think it's improved a lot. Like I said, I was been testing around about 50% in the dictation, up to about 90%. But the teacher speaks in the dictation tests, he still speaks fairly slow, and the sentences aren't that complex. So yeah, that's something to bear in mind when I'm talking about my scores. But in terms of how I think this new approach to sentence mining has worked, and I'll show you a quick example of a card here.
所有的生活经济啊，都是仰赖在那个狗肉产业上面。
So typically I do that, I listen, and then I write down what I think the sentence is, and I check it against that, and I let myself listen as many times as I want. As long as I can write down the characters, I don't care if it takes 5 repeats of the sentence on the audio to get it, or even 10 or whatever, because some of my sentences are quite long. I think that's absolutely fine. And I think because I'm reading it and listening, it's one note type with 2 cards, so I'm reading and listening to the same sentence, and when I'm listening to it, it's multiple times because I have to write down what they're being said. I find this is increasing the repetition of what I'm listening to, and I feel like you've got to pay more attention to what's being said to write down the characters as opposed to just understanding the meaning. So I think that detailed attention, I've actually noticed an increase of comprehension cards to actually being in my active vocabulary, because I'm, as a result of dictating, because you're having to pay the extra attention. And I think this is odd because sometimes, say if you take an example like the word for animal, donghu, and then I didn't realize before, you literally look at the characters and it's like dong is move, wu is thing, because there's like a thing that moves. And when I'm writing down the characters, it's actually makes me process what character it is on a deeper level. And I think sometimes if I know the characters of those two, if I know the pronunciation of those 2 characters, then it helps me more easily convert it into my active vocabulary, which again is a nice added bonus, but that's still my focus is still very much on improving my general comprehension and active vocabulary, because in terms of what I can comprehend, that's always been the limiting factor of how deep a conversation I can go into. Anyway, yeah, thanks for watching the video today. I hope you guys found it useful. And a quick word of advice, if anyone's thinking of coming to, so I'm at the MTC, Mandarin Teaching Center in NTNU University here in Taipei, and if anyone wants to do self-study like I was before getting placed in a class, I think make sure your dictation is okay, because that's what made me have to bump down a bit. So something to bear in mind. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.